Good afternoon. My name is Charlene Vang, and I am here today to present a literary analysis of Sui Shin-far's story in the Land of the Free. The theme of this analysis is how Sui Shin-far illustrates cultural traditional value of obedience in a Chinese wife towards her husband during the 19th century. The title of this analysis is How does a Chinese wife's obedience impact the narrative during the time and the place it represents? Of course, during the 19th century, gender opposition and cultural conflicts was very strong at this time. And so the story starts. Hong Heng, the husband, instructs his wife, Le Choi, to return to China to give birth to their son. During her stay, her parents, the in-laws, becomes ill and she stays behind to take care of them. Upon their death, she returns to America with her child. Unfortunately, upon her arrival, she does not have the proper documentation to show proof that her child is her son indeed. The custom officers detains their child and does not let them take their son back home with them. The critic Yu Ying Ho tells about the bridal laments from the old China values: men decide and women follow. Le Choi, as a Chinese woman and wife, followed this strictly. She follows it with the utmost respect, as seen in all her actions. Another critic, Winsing Li, acknowledges that Chinese women are very intelligent and show deep affection for their husbands and does not alienate their husbands. As seen in Le Choi, she is a very intelligent woman because she allows her husband to make the decisions and negotiate the terms with the attorney. But yet, when it was time to make a decision on her own, she did that without his instruction. Le Choi does not alienate her husband while she is making that decision as well, and allows him to make the final decision on the end. During the 19th century, it is common to see a woman obedient, or what some may interpret as being submissive. This is seen in how Le Choi allows her husband to lead her away quietly without her child from the custom officers in the start of the story. Le Choi's submissiveness toward her husband is natural to undertake during the 19th century because women of all cultures were just starting to develop independence. A critic, Molly Winter, states that Chinese women had a very difficult time expressing their autonomy because they were afraid to be ridiculed. Le Choi is accustomed to obedience, as Sui Shin-far states about her character because of this, as it is a natural norm and a cultural norm for the Chinese people and other cultures in the 19th century for women to display this obedience. Finally, the critic Martha Patterson concludes that Chinese women as mothers are devoted to their husbands and their children. This devotion to their husbands and children is a well-known character as well as other characters in the 19th century. Critics have compared Le Choi's obedience to the Victorian values that other European cultures instilled in women. As Sui Shin-far depicts in Le Choi, she is devoted to her husband and child in such that she is very loyal and loves them with the utmost respect. Le Choi shows her devotion to her husband when he asked her not to grieve because she will receive her son soon. In reply, she says, "You are right, my husband." A Chinese wife's obedience impacts literature in the 19th century because of cultural conflicts and the differences between genders. Sui Shin-far sees how the Chinese woman suffered during this hard time in history, as she depicts the process that Le Choi had to experience with the immigration laws and the male dominance of 19th century. So during this time, women in many cultures have slowly started to leave the Victorian values behind and move towards women's rights. In some ways, Le Choi learns to be independent with her decisions, as in the case when towards the end she decides to give all her jewelries to the lawyer. Being a woman in the 19th century, she is devoted to her child and her husband. Finally, because of the devotion on the 10th month, they finally receive their child back into their arms. Even though her child did not recognize her anymore, her love and devotion remains intact during this whole ordeal. Thank you.